Welcome inside another edition of the pregame presented by Twitch. Vince Sapienza coming to you from Raiders HQ, joined alongside once and as always, the 8-year NFL vet, the former Raiders running back Rashad Jennings. Rashad, how we doing? Another week in. The season is a grind, as we know. How we feeling?
Man, I'm feeling really good. I woke up. I got all my limbs. They're moving. They're vibrant. I'm alive. A lot of things to be thankful for, and a lot going on. Still some football to be played, and we're gonna play it strong, baby.
A lot of football to be played. I love that we're kicking it off with the positivity because that is much needed right now around the silver and black. You know, obviously mathematically eliminated. The ultimate goal of a Super Bowl and contending for another championship is not a possibility, but still plenty to play for in the final month of the season. And as the Raiders get set to travel to Philadelphia and take on the reigning, defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. I know they might not have the look of it on a 3-game losing streak as of right now, but this is still the team that won it all just 8 months ago. I think you and I talked about this during training camp when you looked at the schedule. If you looked at this game, you know, the Raiders were kind of fortunate in not having a lot of weather type games, but if there was one that there was going to be a weather game, it's this Sunday in Philly. Snow is in the forecast Saturday night into Sunday. We'll see what it looks like come kickoff at 10 a.m. local time. But as you look and fast forward to where we are now, how do you stack up what this game looks like and what this game means for the Raiders taking on the Eagles?
Well, first, Vince, it's a long journey. We're here. We finally know mathematically that we're out of the playoffs, and when that happens in the National Football League, you know, you set your desires to go out and you want to host up the Lombardi Trophy. Everybody wants to do that every single year, at least win your division to make the playoffs. And now that that's out of the picture completely, it's okay. Now what? What are we playing for? What are we here for? Well, the National Football League is still a lot at stake. I know from the fandom side of things is annoying. However, letting you fans know that these players still have a lot to play for. And if you can just glance back just to last night, you can see the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons are eliminated. They have no chance. But what do? They go out there on a spoiler alert chase. We want a 3-episode Netflix series of the Raiders destroying everybody. And everybody's excited that they are still fighting, that the coach still has everybody under the platoon of still wanting to fight. And that's what we want to see. We have to see that. And I think going on the road, right, just what the Raiders do, going on the road, playing against the Philadelphia Eagles in their home, who just won the Super Bowl last year, I think it's still a lot to play for because you get to put yourself against an opponent who's going to be in the playoffs, probably, right, with the Eagles, we're pretty certain. And we get a chance to show who we are late in the season with the development, with the changes, and continuing to grow.
Yeah, Rashad, you know, sitting in this building, that's the only mentality you can have right now. If you are in this building, that is the only mentality that you can have, is continuing to fight in this final month of the season. Now, you know, looking at the rosters, 23 guys that are on expiring contracts, right? So when you talk about something to play for, there's a lot of guys on this roster trying to earn another contract, whether it's here or somewhere else in the National Football League. And one of those guys that we're looking at and talking about, and the story of the week, looks to be Kenny Pickett. Geno Smith leaves the game at the end of the 3 quarters against the Denver Broncos on Sunday at Allegiant Stadium. In comes Kenny Pickett. And while context is important, you know, the Denver defense was playing a little bit different. Kenny Pickett, you know, playing free, just throwing the ball, airing it out, looked good, right? In terms of what was provided to him, in terms of what was in front of him, he looked good, threw a touchdown pass to Shedrick Jackson, the great nephew of Bo Jackson. His first catch, his first touchdown. That's a positive, right? That's something that he can hang his hat on in the offseason. But now it looks as if Kenny Pickett is in line to start in Philly. And what a redemption story. What a reunion of sorts. A guy who wins a Super Bowl over there all of a sudden now gets to start his first game as a Raider against his former team. Before we get into the minutia of Kenny Pickett at the helm with this offense, I'm curious, what is the mindset of a player taking on their former team?
Well, first of all, I've done it at every level. I was with the Jacksonville Jaguars, played against the Raiders, became a Raider. I was a Raider, played against the Giants, became a Giant. I've done it on every single level. And there is this tension that happens that puts you in a different frame of mind that you want to produce at an extreme high level because it's a little bit of more pride involved, right? It's that kid that was talking trash to you in high school all of his life, and now y'all on the same playing field. It's just something that jogs your memory that you want to prove it just a little bit more. And so for Kenny Pickett, who when he was with the Eagles, he stepped in and played well. He did. He stepped in and played well when they needed it as a team, got some victories, kept the team moving. Then he gets shipped out, gets shipped out again. He finds himself in another backup position everywhere he's gone since he's left the Steelers. And now he has an opportunity to step up one more time. And so for him, like you said, his first game, folks, your first game going back against, I mean, it's like, imagine this, just playing, right? You break up with somebody and both of y'all got new girlfriends, boyfriends, however you live your life, right? And you are in a restaurant. And it's one thing just to go to a restaurant with your new partner, but imagine if you go to a restaurant with your new partner and it's the same restaurant your other partners there with their new partner. You're going to order probably, you might want to tip a little better. You might order the finest wine. You trying to prove something of what y'all missing. Y'all know that's the truth. So this is the kind of game and this is the kind of upset that can possibly happen. It's an upset every week. And I have no doubt that this can be potentially one of them.
I like that. You tip a little bit more. The bottle of wine is a little fancier looking at the table. I got that. Okay. So with Kenny Pickett now, obviously, interesting situation, right? Chip Kelly goes out the door. Greg Olsen comes in. He's trying to put a spin on it. Can't change things in a week, but in 2 weeks, you've already seen some different wrinkles from a Greg Olsen-led play calling offense. And now you throw another curveball in that Kenny Pickett is your starting quarterback. The one word that keeps being brought up this week when being asked to describe what Kenny Pickett brings is the mobility aspect. So we saw a little bit, again, on Sunday in his limited amount. How much of that carries over to Philly, and what do you expect out of a Kenny Pickett-led offense on Sunday?
I expect some explosiveness, and the reason why is because he can let his hair down and play ball. You got to remember, folks, too. He's very one. He's getting acclimated to the system at the same exact time as Geno Smith was getting acclimated to the system, to the play call with Greg Olsen. But also, he understands how they play in Philly. I know a lot of people have talked about this on the internet and talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and their offense is very, calculated, right? And so when you bring over a quarterback who ran the entire offense, though they changed coordinators, the philosophy, he understands how to communicate that to the Raiders defense coordinator, the defense. And so I think that the Raiders are going to have a much needed edge going away on the road playing against Philly. And I think Pickens is going to have a much greater edge knowing the philosophy of the Eagles defense. And also he's going to let his hair down because he ain't got nothing to lose right now. He's playing with house money. And the reason why he's doing that is because currently, the Raiders offense hasn't been as fluent as we projected to be and can be. Right now, he's a backup and he's going in with a new offensive coordinator. So it's like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to take the rounds of this spot. And so, I think that's the philosophy of an athlete, should be always. And I think that he's a competitor and he wants to go out there and play ball and win. And especially, folks, again, against his ex. He wants to.
Greg Olsen did admit how much, they've been picking the brain of Kenny Pickett, not only on the offensive side of things of what the Philly defense likes to do, but conversely of what the offense does on the other side of the ball. In your time, you said you've played, done it at every level, playing against the X, if you will. How much was your brain picked by your coaches, and how much, I guess, what percentage of that goes into helping game plan that particular week?
It's picked very well, especially when you're coming from the same coordinators and whatnot. You understand the temperament, the philosophy of the room. You understand the coaching points. You understand the tendencies because you was a part of developing those when you was a player with a former team. So it makes a big difference in how you prepare and practice. And coaches definitely want to pull on you as much as they can, man. So I think it does give an edge. However, I mean, at the end of the day, folks, you still got to go out there and play football. We know how that go. I mean, you still got to make the tackle. You still got to make the catch. You still got to make all the right plays. And it's up to you as an athlete. But what we want to see here in this particular game is we want to see a fight and we want to see a victory. And I think the Raiders organization and all the players feel the exact same way. No matter if, as a fan of the organization, and we want to see our beloved Raiders go out there and win every single game, they do too. They feel exactly the same way you feel. Okay, probably even worse. Trust me. And they are going to do everything they can to put everybody in the right position. And I think Pickens is a person who wants to kind of break this monotonous and actually wants to keep that monotonous going on with the Eagles. There's nothing more satisfying than Pickens right this second to make sure that the Eagles go on a 4-game drought. And he has an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett, of course. Pickett is his brain is being picked, obviously. Pickett picked. But real quick, is it as simple as saying, hey, Rashad, do they like to run right or left? Like, is it as simple as that, or do you have to go into the coach's office and be like, don't run dive on 3rd and 2? They're going to shift over. I mean, like, how specific are we getting? Because you talked about tendencies, you talked about a little bit of play calling, but for those that have never been in those meetings and never, been a part of those conversations, like, how oversimplification is it, or do you get kind of in the nitty gritty of design of helping them be like, no, this is why they want to do that?
Yeah, you get into it all. I mean, anybody with a TV copy can see that the Eagles, when they're running trips to the field, they run to the boundary 90% of the time. We can just see that. So I'm sure Kenny can simply say, yeah, that's what they do.
Okay.
Or he can confirm it. And yeah, so I think they're going to scheme up a whole entire blitz package that's going to put Jalen Hurts under a lot of fire.
Got it. Okay. Just again, as somebody who's never been in there, I wanted, because I sit there and my mind goes, oh, you guys are just at the cafeteria saying, hey, what do they like to do over there? Or no, you guys are in the film room saying, see, this is what they do on 3rd and shorts, 2nd and long, whatever have you. It's fascinating nonetheless. Okay, so we talked about finding positives, right, in this final month and finding ways to take steps forward. I think one of the big things we saw a week ago was Caleb Rogers get his first NFL start. Eye test, analytics, all says he passed with flying colors. Obviously, a bigger test at hand this week with that vaunted Philadelphia defensive line. As a running back who had a very unique perspective to offensive lines and movement and young players and how they worked, what did you make of Caleb Rogers against the Denver Broncos? And how much does that test take a notch or two up against Philly?
Well, yeah, obviously he did a phenomenal job over there. Playing against Denver. I mean, Denver's offense is very efficient. Denver's defense is very efficient. So when you're just going against a team where you got to go out there and make the play in, play out, you're having to cover guys, do all the things. Like it's a lot that happens. I thought he proved why he's in the National Football League. And I think he's going to show why he's going to be here to stay for some time. Now going against Philly is another test, right? It's another test with some big names over there on that side of the ball. So I think he's going to be challenged. I think he's up for the challenge. Obviously, it's cold. When it's cold outside in Philly, not just anywhere, but especially Philly, it feels a little bit different. And you got those fans, and you got the degree of, hey, what are we playing for? And finding out are people following the internet too much. Like you get to prove yourself as a professional athlete and showcase your resume. So I think he's gonna show and make a staple game for his long season in the career.
Same question, different player. Darian Porter, another rookie who's going to be thrown in the deep end, right? Kyu Blue Kelly goes down with what is a season-ending injury. So now, the guy he was in competition with is no longer there. Looks like he's going to get full burn in that secondary for the Silver and Black. And, while the Denver Broncos receivers do a lot of good things, I think everyone would agree the combination of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith is a different level entirely. And so whether or not it's A.J. on one side or Devontae on the other, he's going to be facing some premier wide receivers. So how do you go about analyzing and being patient, understanding he's going to give up probably some catches, probably going to give up some yards, but letting him learn, again, being thrown in the deep end?
Yeah, and this is a good time for it, Vince, because you look at the level of competition, and A.J. Brown is obviously a phenomenal talent. But I think Devontae Smith is even better. I think he's a better route runner. I think he's a little bit faster. I think he's a little bit harder to guard, it seems, for a lot of athletes. Now, AJ is just a freak.
Mm-hmm.
AJ's a freak, man. And anything in his radius, his big body, he can box you out. He's very difficult to guard. And obviously, they got the moon ball played to him. You can't jam him on the line. But I think they're going to have their hands full for sure. But I think these are kind of challenges, Vince, that these athletes wake up every day desiring. Like if you think about it, if I could showcase my talent on display, do I want to go against the best or the worst?
Mm-hmm.
I want the best. I want the best. I want the best because now I get to prove I did it against the best. Not that this was an accident or fluke or I caught somebody off guard on a bad day. This is I went against who the NFL thinks are the top premier receivers. And so this is a challenge that they've been seeking and waiting for. I mean, they've been playing Madden their whole life. And so now they get to go out here and guard these guys in real time. I think they take it as a true challenge.
Rashawn, let me ask you this. So, just taking those two examples, right, of Darian Porter and Caleb Rogers in particular, guys that I think Pete Carroll and the staff have talked about and wanting to ease into it little by little so that when they are called upon, they're ready for the moment, right? I think, Kyu Blue Kelly going down is obviously unfortunate for the player, great person, but I think they wanted to, make it chip away a little bit more with Darian Porter. That's not an option anymore. Caleb Rogers, somewhat similar position. In your time, I'm curious, was there ever a moment where you felt like, oh, I'm being thrown in the deep end this week? There's no more chipping away. This is real deal now. Do you remember that and how you attacked that mentally and what that played out?
Yeah, when I was in Jacksonville, I was backing up Maurice Jones-Drew, and I was a rookie. He got hurt last game. Really, I think it was the second to last game of the season. And I stepped in. Right in, playing against the Texans. I ran for 102 yards in that game. I never looked back. Now, obviously, it was funny for me because in the locker room, actually in the meeting rooms, our coach even said, all right, Maurice is down this week. Rashad, and this is Jack Del Rio. Maurice Jones-Drew is down this week. We're going with Rashad, capable runner, and we can get the job done. We know he's not Maurice. We know we know what kind of player we have, but we got to keep fighting out there. And it was just kind of like this subliminal. We know he's not that good as Maurice. We know that we have have to lean on some other guys, but we got to keep going. It was like he made the whole locker room feel we lost Maurice for this game, so we really ain't got a chance. But man, y'all still the guy that got to go out there and fight. And also keep you in mind, it was a similar situation with the Raiders where we're eliminated from the playoffs. We have no chance to win the division, none of that, right? And so we're just out there playing. I took that to heart. I was like, who this fool up here trying to act like because I'm playing, we ain't got no chance. Man, I went out there and balled out. And that led into the next season. I actually came in as the starter. And then I got hurt. It was a whole story. But the point is, you get to pull out the truth of an athlete, right? We take this stuff personal. We think we the best, right? At all times. There is no such thing as a backup. It's just that you're only allowed to play one at a time. And so that's the mentality you have to bring as an athlete. That's the mentality you're supposed to bring as a whole entire team. It ain't no starters out there. If you think that, ask any athlete. We don't think that way. That's just for the novice and or people that count stats to understand how to allocate who's out there first. That's it. We all just bond and waiting for our opportunity. And the same thing when I was with the Raiders and backing up Darren McFadden. Yeah, okay, yeah, when McFadden's out, I don't care. What's that got to do with me? I went in and took the job. That's how it's the mentality, folks. And we all love and respect each other. But do you want a kid on your team that thinks, oh, I'm the backup? Or do you want a kid that steps in and say, oh, no, this is mine? I think everybody wants somebody to step in and say, this is mine. I think these are the kind of guys we have on that defensive side of the ball.
Now, let me ask you this. Years later, do you feel like Del Rio really believed that? Or do you think that was him doing the psychological game, pressing the right buttons, knowing the type of player you were, the mentality you had to be like, did this guy really just say that in front of the team?
Yeah, you know what's funny, Vince, is that hindsight as a head coach, he always is going to be right. Because I turn out and pan out, he's like, see, I knew it. You ain't know nothing. But it's like, but it's a beautiful thing. That's the good part of football. Like all things for those who are focused and diligent about their job, everything pans out the right way. Because oh yeah, I knew I was gonna get the best out of you. Good. That's great. Do I believe it? Doesn't matter. I'm here about the results. I ain't emotional with it.
I love that. I would love to ask Jack now if he was just pressing buttons. I know what his answer is probably going to be, but I do wonder his true feelings that season. A couple more young players I do want to ask you about. Again, taking the steps, getting the reps, getting the experience, getting that feel good, in their system moving forward. Another rookie in Tonka Hemingway gets his first NFL sack this past week. That's something that he can put a feather in his cap moving forward. And Jack Besh, a guy that we've talked a lot about over this season. We've been begging, Rashad. We've been pleading, get this kid on the field, more snaps, more passing game reps, get him some targets. We saw that in a big way when Kenny Pickett comes into the game in the fourth quarter, and he's somebody, it feels like, especially if Kenny Pickett is the starter on Sunday, he could get some real looks, get some real burn against the Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely, Falsey. I think I've been talking about Besh since preseason. I think he's a special kid. I've watched some of his tape coming out of college, out of TCU. I think he runs all the routes. He's a big body. He has a little bit more deceptive speed than people want to give him credit for. He got strong hands. He just got to get comfortable. You got to get comfortable, more reps, get acclimated. And there's always these storylines that happen towards the end of the seasons, or somebody goes out, one player gets in, one player gets hurt, and the storyline right now is who was this Wilson kid in Arizona that came out of nowhere, right? Oh my gosh, where in the world has he been? It's the same kid that was there. And so I think Best is kind of the same players. Like, we're going to have that moment where we say, wait a second, where did he come from? And then you throw in Thornton, and then you throw in Genty, and then you throw in Brock, and then it's like, oh man, all of these things are starting to click. What is it? I think we're going to start to find out what it is in the last 3 games.
Max Crosby, 25-plus TFLs this season, obviously continuing to wreak havoc. The Philadelphia Eagles might be on their 3rd string right tackle. Might be a day that Max Crosby, the Condor, can feast. We will see what that looks like. Before we close this thing out, again, I mentioned at the top, snow is in the forecast Saturday night into Sunday morning. We'll see what it looks like, again, come kickoff, 10 a.m. local time here in Las Vegas. But when we looked at the schedule, this was going to be that one weather game that might be the great equalizer, if you will. What are some cold weather, snow, sleet, rain, whatever it may be, memories for you? And then to that point, what are those experiences that you had make for what this game could be in terms of that great equalizer between both teams?
Yeah, so for me, I think, well, one, let me tell you this. Cold weather, I know y'all, you ever been to Boise State? It snowed there, don't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we know a player that's used to the cold weather, and I think I know what it's like to play in cold weather, and nobody wants to hit. You don't want to get hit in the cold because it hurts, folks. It hurts way more, and that's why, secret tip, just for everybody out there, if you're in a really cold weather, always do this. Take a nice warm shower, and when you get out, lather up with Vaseline. You put on Vaseline across your whole body, go outside. There's a second layer of skin. Just a tip. Try it and then come back to me. Okay. You'll see why you need to listen to what we're talking about here. But cold weather, people don't want to hit. And so Genty is somebody who looks for contact, even in the open field. He was like, he should juke, he should miss. He wants the contact. And here's a situation where the defense doesn't. I think we'll start to see a great parallel. And also just playing in the cold, man. It's a different mindset, because to a degree, it's something you almost can't even prepare for. I remember playing in Thanksgiving, and just in college. I'm going through every cold game. College, I was playing Thanksgiving. Pittsburgh Panthers, I was with the Panthers my freshman year, playing against West Virginia in West Virginia. And it was negative 11 degrees. Tyler Palko was a quarterback, and legitimately he was given a play call. In the middle of the play call, his spit just froze right out of his mouth. And I was like, I didn't even get to play. My brain froze because of what I was seeing. And he was saying, Shad Hutt, I legitimately just started like vibrating. and waiting for a play to develop to see where I was supposed to fit. It was crazy time. And then there's another time, Minnesota. We're playing. It's cold. It's freezing cold in Minnesota. I'm with the Giants. We go down there. Nobody wanted to hit anybody, folks. It was halftime. I had 127 total yards off of offense at halftime. Our team had 130. Nobody wanted to hit me. It was amazing. So I say all that to say this: cold weather does make or break some people, right? And I think we're going to see some physical downhill running by Genty, and I think we got somebody on the other side like a Max Crosby, who in this case, his attitude and how crazy he is, I don't think he feels cold. He might be one dude you might want to interview to see what is it about his blood that makes him tick different. So I think we can make some damage here on the road.
Yeah, so he won't mind hitting Saquon Barkley, because I would imagine if Genty's getting the ball, Saquon's getting the ball in a big way, especially for the Eagles, who are trying to get back to their roots a little bit, snap a 3-game losing streak. The Raiders are looking to snap their own losing streak as well. So wait, were you a sleeveless in the cold type of player? Were you all about that?
Yeah, man. No such thing. No running back can wear sleeves. That's a rule.
That's a rule.
That's a rule, man. That's a rule amongst us. If you're a running back wearing long sleeves, we're gonna look at you like, hold up now. Are you sure you're a running back, or are you just an athlete out here? Running backs don't wear sleeves. That's just the golden rule.
Okay, good to know. Hey, news you can use. You learn something every day. That's what happens here in the pregame, presented by Twitch. You can find all our episodes up on Raiders YouTube, Raiders.com, wherever you find your podcast. For Rashad Jennings, I'm Vince Sapienza. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, enjoy the game on Sunday in Philadelphia. Again, a 10 a.m. local kickoff. We'll talk to you next week.